Welcome to the Dr. Detective, a true crime podcast, a PhD true crime podcast, the show where we bring you critical assessment based on experience. We have another great episode, episode 18, The Fear of AI. So, what exactly are we talking about? We're talking about artificial intelligence. Is there a healthy fear of it? We're going to talk about what is AI, some expectations, some of the basic foundational elements of what this is, what it means, what we can potentially expect as far as its growth in technology and so forth. So, again, as we get started, this is brought to you by the series. Please share, like, and subscribe. I'm getting a little traction on with TikTok and other areas, some of the social media platforms, but you can find us on YouTube. You can also find us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, and Audible, and TikTok. So again, go to the YouTube channel. Please share, like, and subscribe. It's free to subscribe. So I appreciate the comments. I appreciate the hearts. I appreciate the likes, and of course, subscribers. So to my crime scholars, welcome again. Just going to get right into this. So as we get started, this is basically all about education and entertainment for those primary purposes only. And it's not meant to create any kind of due unrest for anybody. So I'm really not trying to scare anyone. We're going to talk about it because you may have no knowledge of AI. You may be well versed in AI. So I have to kind of keep it middle of the road, right? For those that are aware, those that are learning more about it. So we're going to talk about what AI is. And I may park myself in this little corner here for that purpose. So, what exactly is artificial intelligence? Again, when you see this, you kind of see most of the time you see an image of a robot or some kind of android figure or configuration and so forth. And we'll talk about even Tesla and Elon Musk that is actually creating humanoid figures similar to what you see here or some variation of that. So, this is the future. This is the present. This is now. So, artificial intelligence is fascinating. I think it is actually moving us light years ahead in terms of education and things that we can, how we can use it, how it can benefit us. But we have to also consider its technology, right? So many of the CEOs have said, it's fast growing. As you know, technology can change very, very quickly. And when I talk about technology, I'm not just saying like the physical aspect of devices and machines, but the technology itself with the internet, the inner working elements as far as the software, the integration of software, the integration of devices and software, or what's called the Internet of Things, right? So typically, we heard of chips and smart chips with computers. Well, when you add a chip to anything, it becomes a smart device or smart thing, just like smartphones, right? Smart homes and so forth. So this is going to be a several part series we're going to talk about. What exactly is artificial intelligence? Let's get right into it. So it says different slides talks about the role of teaching. So we're talking about teaching the technology what it means to be human. It's giving the capacity of machines to think like humans or understand us as humanity, to memorize and learn from our experiences, from the experiences we've had, from the archives that we've created, from the knowledge that we share, or what's called prompting. Think of a prompt like a keyword search or a Google search, right? People say Google it, right? You're looking things up essentially. So that's kind of what we're doing. We're prompting or we're teaching this technology, we're teaching these devices and so forth how we think, how we operate. And we've given it access to this information superhighway, the computers, the internet, our archives, our libraries, right? Our music and everything else. So all that is applicable and it can be used as a tool to enhance our skill sets, enhance our capabilities. People talk about the fear of losses of jobs. I guess that means we need to level up with our skill sets and make sure we are valuable in our places of work and business. So let's continue forward and break this down. Pretty much in a nutshell, artificial intelligence is the simulation of human intelligence by software that's been coded, or heuristics, as it's called. Coded heuristics, characteristics. Um, Again, human intelligence. Think about that for a second. What is human intelligence, right? We can have another slide to articulate what that is. It's pretty much how we think. What does it mean to be intelligent? What does it mean for us to think as humans? Our lifestyles, how we operate, everything considering us. And then the computers and machines are taking those experiences and archiving and documenting and seeing ways to improve that. So we are responsible for that, because guess what? Every Google search, every text message, everything is all data. It all comes back to data. This ties right in with investigations, um, marketing, and everything else. So how we socialize, even on social media, it's all data points, right? So if it's all data, guess what? It's being documented. It's being shared. So again, the gift and the curse of technology. But what exactly, more in depth, is artificial intelligence? So it is a branch of computer science that studies machine intelligence, or machine learning, as it has been phrased or coined. So again, it is the branch of computer science. Some examples of that, as I just mentioned, will be everything we search, Google search engines, Bing, and so forth. It's all about content, the content that we recommend. So it can make recommendations, right? Have you ever been thinking or having a discussion, and that commercial or that ad pops up on your phone, or you get sent that email message? This is where the algorithms, as they call them, or protocols, come into play. The algorithms, or a set of protocols or rules, again. So when we talk about algorithms, we're talking about a set of rules to follow, or just a basic protocol to follow. If we can follow rules, just like, um, don't run in the house or whatever, right? Well, think of it in the context of computers. We give it a rule, or a coded set of rules, right? Like a procedure to follow. We should do that. If we don't, um, things can break, I guess, right? Or a different outcome. So it's no different with machines. They're only going to do exactly what we program to do for them to do for now, right? They're learning to think, and we'll talk about the evolution of this technology and what it means as it evolves. It's evolving rapidly. So some other examples of AI would be like the Alexa, the what's it called for Android? Um, I forgot the term, but it's a name. Alexa, like the Alexa, or like we talk and we have our coded device, or um, have it answer, ask us a question, and so forth. It's probably not going to happen now. It might. Here, I think it's Bixby. That's what I was looking for the Android devices, right? And my phone's actually flashing. I just said that name, so we know these devices are listening. They're actively listening. Is that a part of artificial intelligence? It's a part of the software. It's a part of the data that we talked about that we are sharing. So again, some additional examples of that would be self-driving vehicles, the autonomy of vehicles, and automatic language translation. Just like I mentioned, these devices are listening. So I said the name, I'm going to say Alexa because I don't have an Apple with me right now, Apple device. So I said the other name, Bixby, and the phone like is listening. So it's actually automatically picking up on that term, that keyword, that data point, and it's articulating like, are you calling me? Do you need my attention? Also, how about the facial recognition software many of you may use to unlock your devices and so forth? That is also potentially artificial intelligence. Right? I'm going to go between both here as a hybrid to show the screen and me talking. Computer games, pretty much it's all coding and other filters and so forth. So an AI is a computer system that performs tasks, but it usually requires some kind of human input, some kind of interaction, some kind of prompt, as it's called, a prompt or command. We have to tell it to do something. Just like when you fire up your machine, you have to log in, you have to give a command or type it in. Well, it's getting better. It's already here. It's actually gotten much better. Now we can just talk, and the machines can identify our voice, identify certain words. Patterns is what this is basically looking at. So to even simplify it more, artificial intelligence is breaking down the large language models. It's breaking down the terms, the patterns it can recognize by voice, by text, by visual, by audio, and other data that's been distributed or that is being distributed across the web completely. Again, I'm going to take you to class today, right? So stay with me, all right? Taking you to class. Artificial intelligence also, as I mentioned, it's about large language models, which means data points, essentially, inputs and outputs, right? So, again, some other terms we can remember or make note of: machine learning. These machines are literally learning what we do, what we program, what data we're sharing, what data we're distributing on a constant basis. Imagine a student that never goes home, a student that stays in the lab, a student that stays up and is awake, or that is still documenting, taking notes, even after class is done, right? This is what the machines are doing. So, machine learning is using sample data to train computer programs to recognize our patterns, other patterns, based on the protocols or rules that it's been coded and developed and designed to do. So, again, as I said, artificial intelligence is based on machine learning. It's a component of how the machines learn, and it's training the computer programs that we're training to recognize patterns based on the protocols or what's called the algorithm. Sounds fancy, right? Then there's neural networks, just like our brain cells. So this is no different. It is the computer's brain that's essentially designed to imitate neurons, which is a neural network. Neurons, just like the thinking, the intelligence that we share, and what our brain tells us to do. Our brain tells us to breathe, right? We don't have to think about it. Uh, our brain tells us to move. We want to move our hand, just like I'm gesturing. You can't see me. Just like I gesture, I move my hand, right? I wave, right? Our brain's telling us to do that, right? So the brain and thoughts come before the thing, right? We're not going to go high level yet. You're not ready. So you're not ready for it. Maybe you are. We'll get into it because this is going to be several parts to this. As I mentioned, we're going to talk about some fear of AI, what AI is. Another segment, we're going to talk about what it means to us. Another segment, we're going to talk about facial recognition specifically. Another segment, we'll talk about what it means for music and music artists. Of course, I'm also a musician. Musician first. It came before everything. Came before law enforcement. Came before media. But it all ties back in, right? It's all data, and we're all multi-talented, right? So we know the drill. Let's get more into natural language processing, or those large language models, right? So AI has the ability to understand speech. As I mentioned, it recognizes our voice, our data points, different patterns in how we have different inflections or tone, the tonality of our voices, right? How we speak, whether it sounds smooth like myself. No, I'm just joking. But so it has the ability to understand um, language, right? And understand the patterns and analyze this and document or archive that into the system. It remembers that, basically remembers the patterns, and if it hears something similar or familiar or the exact same, it can address that, or it can actually come in handy as far as usage. And then we have the robotics component of AI, whereas the machines can assist people without having any kind of human involvement. This is where we get into the androids or the droid figures with the robots and so forth, right? So I can always go back to the beginning of this or go forward, where we have these pictures of the droids and the robots to talk about, the patterns that have been archived, documented, timestamp, what have you, and shared and distributed. So this is where this all factors in or comes into play with the large language models. So again, the question becomes, should we fear artificial intelligence? There's a certain amount of fear or anxiety, or the AI anxiety, as it's called. It's a growing concern because this technology is evolving at a rapid rate. As it evolves, this anxiety stems from people feeling they may lose their jobs, people feeling there's an existential risk to the technology taking over, becoming smarter than us. And we'll talk about that. I believe it has surpassed the IQ of Albert Einstein, which I think was around 155 or so. And there's other ethical implications or considerations we may want to talk about as well, because let's face it, it's technology. But if it's already surpassed Einstein, what's next? Because it's still learning, it's still evolving and still growing. So again, when you think of some of the software-based components that we're testing or that has been released as a free component, I believe that there's a charge for Chat GPT now, but there's a lot of free software programs, a lot of free apps out there to consider, and there's a lot of artificial intelligence that has already been in use for many years, right? So again, this has become the trending technology, the trending buzzwords, but it's also very useful. I got excited about it, just like I did about cryptocurrency and many of the other technologies, because it all ties back to data, right? We'll talk about cryptocurrency in another segment, right? It's all data. It is a digital currency based on data, right? Some people are saying it sounds stupid. I don't understand it. But we're going to talk about that. And we're going to talk about how it evolved or just transferred from just like any other currency or exchange of payment or payment system like a Cash App, a Zelle, credit cards, checks, and so forth. So there's a lot of similarities there. And so again, back to AI and the software elements or options. So I've used Chat GPT on several occasions just to test the software, and it actually works pretty quickly. You can actually use or learn to use AI as a tool. And what I mean by that, it can be a tool that's very useful to help enhance your skill sets with your job or simplify some tasks that are assigned to you. Or if you're creative, it can really enhance your creativity. Again, as long as you don't get lazy and just become totally reliant on the technology, because it's not perfect, right? It's not perfected yet, but it is doing a very good job at implementing different skills, um, saving time for different jobs and skills required for certain jobs, like writing memos, coming up with various ideas. Because remember, these large language models are coming from every industry, every category. So the question is, will AI take my job or your job or our jobs? And how to overcome some of that fear and use it to your advantage. This is where, when we say use it as a tool, we should do just that, right? How to learn to use it to your advantage. That means we have to understand what it is first, right? Like one thing, when you're a lazy coworker, right? Someone tries to tell you how to do your job. Maybe this is your response, right? AI won't take your job, but someone using AI might take your job. So they may use it as a tool to replace you. If you just are that lazy coworker, again, it's a pet peeve of mine. I'm not talking about my coworkers currently. I'm just saying across the board. I worked at Wendy's for 6 years. So again, I had a range of people like me in high school to grown adults. There was lazy at every level, right? So again, I'll say it once, I'll say it again. Can't fix someone that's lazy, but this technology is a game changer. If you are lazy, if it applies to you, you probably should fear it because you might be replaced. So again, step it up, level it up, get your skills together, get some kind of work ethic. If you don't have one, well, AI might be the solution. For some bosses out there, I'll let you all be the judge of that. Maybe you're giving yourself the finger, who knows, right? So we have to learn to integrate this technology into our lifestyles, learn to integrate the technology. And why is that? Things are not changing. Things are not going away. Technology is not going to go anywhere. It's just going to evolve. It's going to evolve, and it is going to got a weird screen here. Let's take that out. So technology is going to evolve, and it's going to adapt. And it's going to learn how it can better our lives. In some capacities, if it's something as simple as organizing or creating a spreadsheet or creating a video, this stuff can create videos, can create music now, can create just about anything. It's actually being used for law departments and certain entities to draft briefings, find case law, a multitude of sectors. So every sector is going to be impacted. It's already impacted because guess what? These language models, whether it's coding or prompting or suggestions, this technology works very quickly and it never sleeps. It does not sleep. So what does that mean? That means things have to evolve, and we have to get better at what we do. So we have to integrate it into everything in some way, shape, or form. What does that mean? That means reading. That means learning. That means watching videos. That means just first of all, understanding what the technology is. If you understand what it is, you may find something new or a new way to use it to your advantage. You definitely can find a way to monetize this. And when I say monetize, I'm talking about making money with the tool or with the technology. Don't fear it. Learn what it is, how it works, and put it to use. That's why I appreciate you all being here. Again, I'm taking you to class. I'm trying to spoon feed you little by little. And I'm going to keep showing these droids or androids because when we talk about artificial intelligence, essentially, if we're talking about any job replacements, we're talking about some kind of physical robot or machinery, even without a body of an android that could potentially do your job, right? If we're talking about setting a timer, right? Dropping fries, flipping burgers, right? There's already automation. There's already assembly lines. That started with Henry Ford, and even before that with George Washington Carver, right? Adopting the plant system, studying the plant system, and that being put into the plants with automotive. Think about it. I'll let you live with that for a second. Studying plants, the plant system with automation, industry, right? Processes, protocols, same thing. It's just a different term and a different way to introduce technology into industry, right? Before we had the assembly lines, we still have the assembly lines where they're cranking out X amount of tires, X amount of rims, X amount of car doors. But you have that human component to kind of manage the machines, manage the production, and in some capacities, lift or replace and make sure things don't go haywire. Because as you know, things can get out of sync. We got a bottleneck or a backup somewhere, and it all goes way out there. So again, make yourself irreplaceable, make yourself adaptable. It's time to get some reading in, basically. It's time to get some watching in of videos. It's time to get some learning elements in to understand it. Don't fear it, learn it, right? So again, this robot picture here, Android picture, the machines are studying the patterns. They're identifying the patterns and they're training themselves. What I mean by computers, when I say machines, I mean computers. The computers are learning and they're training themselves. They're learning from us and they're training the programs how to identify and how to improve. They can clearly see the amount of gaps or maybe some inconsistencies or better ways to be productive. So that's what we're talking about. Again, some other components in terms of learning, when I talk about the learning process and so forth with AI, utilization, right? So maybe it's idea generation. You want to try and test Chat GPT or some of these other AI systems. Maybe you say, hey, write me a poem about flowers, or write me a passage for scripture, or, give me a sermon for the week, right? This technology can do that. It's going to pull from data sources, but it can write you a sermon probably in less than 30 seconds, less than 20 seconds. It's getting faster. It just depends the length. It may limit you to a certain length of data, but it's idea generation. It's about maybe just brainstorming. Or if you have writer's block, maybe you say, hey, give me a suggestion for an outline, right? So I'm giving away the gems now. Now we're dropping gems and the freebies, ways you can monetize this. But I want to share with you. I want you to know, because this is about situational AI usage and how you can adapt and adopt the technology as a partner. Think of it as a tool that becomes a partner. You can also use AI to create different models, images, visuals, outlines, first drafts, right? Maybe you don't use it to do your homework completely, because you want to understand what you're delivering, what you're distributing, and you have to still be able to articulate that, right? If you let the technology do everything, then why do I need you? Is a question you have to ask yourself. If you don't want to be replaced, learn the tool, use the tool. Don't let the tool use you. Don't let the tool replace you. That's how you become irreplaceable. So again, are we prompting giving it all of our knowledge? Not necessarily, but there's a lot of archives. There's a lot of data that's been stored and a lot of data that's being shared, even socially, right? So they have computers and machines that are teaching just to watch programs and watch different sessions of learning and teaching and webinars and everything else, right? So it is integrating into our lifestyles and us already. Maybe you use this as a research assistant or a tutor or feedback from a tool, right? Maybe you ask it, how can I make my poem that I wrote better? So again, you write the original, you ask the software, can you improve on what I wrote, or have another suggestion for me? It may offer you a suggestion, right? It may not. Maybe you like your version better. Maybe you have the best of both worlds with considering, hey, I didn't look at it in that capacity. So again, this can be a thinking tool. This can be an adaptive tool that we learn to use to our advantage. So again, learn to use a tool. Don't let the tool use you to replace you. I should coin that. Let's get more in depth with this. So again, some of the skill sets we're talking about, future skills and present skills. I'm going to remove my logo here so I can read the screen and you can read it. So again, some of these skill sets, social media, different usage, or top 10 uses of AI in our day-to-day lifestyle right now, right? Digital assistants can drive things like the Siri, the Alexas, the Bixby's, the Google assistants, right? Many of us call right now to pay payments or make payments with utility companies. They may have it either outsourced to a company or individuals, or it may be software, right? Which is very irritating, but this is where we are. Again, social media, a lot of data just being shared, all those content videos that we all make or some of us make, and then driving, the autonomy of self-driving cars. I saw an article that in Texas, they are implementing autonomous semi tractor trailers for transportation. Some maybe even self-driving. I have to look at the credibility of that article, but that's what they're doing now, right? So imagine being on the highway and no one's in the vehicle. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But even like the Teslas, some of you have those Teslas, right? Are you required to be behind the wheel still, or are you just letting the car drive you? Can you get in the back seat, or isn't it required for you to be, or a person to be in the driver's seat at all times? Again, things to think about. Different ways this technology is being used. Automation, financial, spam detection, recommendations, facial recognition, fingerprint detection, fraud detection, search engines, smart keyboards, smart devices, just across the board. As you can see, just about every industry is being impacted. Just about every industry has some kind of technology integrated into how it's used. So again, when we talk about systems and the computers that are teaching themselves, we are initiating the initial coding and prompting, just like we do with any other computers or devices. Then the computers and machines or machine learning is adapting to understand what we've coded, what we've input, and a better way to maybe code or a better way to improve on productivity. So that can work to our advantage. Again, there's been videos of this technology that's able to read multiple languages. And we're not talking about just one language, we're talking about multiple languages, even some hieroglyphics and ancient text, um, tablets, and so forth that have been decoded somewhat by the artificial intelligence. There's an article talks about the ancient Sumerian tablets, 5,000 years old, that AI is able to decode and or somewhat interpret as far as the sayings and the images and so forth. Because remember, this is all a person or a student, like a student, the machines that are constantly learning, constantly taking data, constantly taking inputs and outputs, whether it's by us, by our data archives, or both. So it's learning from us and then also learning from itself at the same time. So you can imagine the machines are evolving at a rapid rate. Again, let's backtrack a little bit. So there are three types of AI or artificial intelligence that we're talking about. We're talking about artificial narrow intelligence, or A&I for abbreviation. That's where it's kind of stage one of machine learning. And artificial general intelligence, or AGI, stage two. This is where computers refers to a computer that is as smart as a human across the board. And then we have what's called artificial super intelligence, ASI. Stage three, where we're talking about machine consciousness, an intellect that is much smarter than the best human brain in practically every field. Again, that's kind of giving us a low score on the totem pole because we're still evolving also. We haven't learned to use our full brain capacity. And once we do that, there's several movies that talk about that. But are we limited? Are we limiting ourselves? This may be where it ties into the creatives, whereas some people have access to different parts of the brain and so forth. So what does that mean once we evolve? But what I can tell you is this technology and these machines are evolving at a rapid rate because guess what? They have access to the data. They have access to us. They have access to everything that we are consuming, everything that we are distributing, everything that we are sharing, right? So those three types of as a base, right? So again, this is not all definitive and the all-knowing podcast on AI. I'm just sharing some things to consider, some of the trends that you're going to see, and some things to consider moving forward. So they talked about the AI reaching beyond human intelligence. Excuse me, or the smartest human that we're aware of, right? There's machine learning. Again, that was roughly 2018 or before, and then as it evolves into this super intelligence, right? They were saying by 2060 we would reach that, where AI is well beyond human cognitive abilities. We'll see what happens there, but I believe we might even be close to that now. So, how much further is this advancing, and how much faster is the technology advancing? Right? They were predicting around the year 2030, the machines reaching what's called sentient or sentient. I've heard it pronounced both ways, sentient or sentient, reaching the surpassing human capabilities and so forth. But are we there? We'll see what happens, especially with Tesla introducing these humanoid robot type figures and so forth. Again, something to consider there on that slide. We talked about general intelligence. We also talked about Tesla And Elon, with his introduction of humanoids or these robot type figures, and Elon Musk predicts 3 to 6 years before AI reaches super intelligence. So again, we're not far off, and I think he's helping this par for the course to create these humanoids. Created self-driving cars with a Tesla. He's creating self-driving taxis. He's created Neuralink with the implementation of a chip attached to our brains. I believe they're testing now, and they have successfully been able to have disabled parties have Neuralink attached to them, and they can play chess. So we're getting to the point where we're able to think and have something created, or these chips or these Neuralinks, like neurons, right? Implemented, and the neural networks to identify our thoughts and patterns. It's all pattern recognition. Again, it's all data. Now you're connecting or integrating humans with machines, right? Maybe that's a goal. Again, to improve our lives. Maybe this reaches the point where we can have cures for certain diseases and so forth. But it's definitely going to move us light speed ahead. So looking at this, his prediction, Elon referring to, he said 3 to 6 years for super intelligence. Some of the risks, because he's afraid of AI also. I'm sure it's fascinating him, and he's a part of the equation with implementing this technology, right? So he talks about the risks, whereas AI surpasses human intelligence, and we cannot control or predict what it might do or its actions, essentially. Then it could consideration of rogue actions, where it aligns with humans, or does it align with our values and priorities? Or do the computers recognize it's smarter than us, or what's a need for us, right? So some things to fear, or that he fears. Elon talks about the lack of regulation. There's no active regulation in place, or proactive regulation is required, or is it too late? Some things he's posed. There's been different symposiums or collectives and groups that have masterminds, and they meet and talk about it. And these are the CEOs from the top companies that have met or are currently meeting and talking about these kind of regulations. How about autonomous weapons? AI is already being used. I just saw yesterday the newest implementation of fighter jets that are operated with AI, and they can reach like Mach 9, right? Sounds ridiculous. I can't even put it into context, because I hear about Mach 2, Mach 3, and I was impressed, right? But Mach 9, and maneuverability and adaptability with shape and stealth mode. So again, they've really leveled up with weaponry. But what does this mean? So AI could operate independently of human control as a consideration, right? How about existential risk to humanity? AI poses an existential risk, right? What does that mean? We talk about existential. So some of the unknowns, some of the factors or things that factor into what it means. Can we control the technology? Have we gone too far already with releasing some of these software programs, some of these applications? Some of the CEOs have said, we released this, but we don't quite understand it. Does that even make sense to do that? And they've started with free applications, then they monetize them later after we're all hooked in, right? So it just depends. Elon also talked about displacement of jobs. AI and automation technologies advance and perform tasks done by humans. As I talked about that, there are some restaurants currently in operation that already are testing the automation, testing some of the AI and usage with its operations, maybe how it can improve production and so forth. But let's face it, right? If you can replace employees, you have no workers' comp, you have tech support, but you have an employee that will work unlimited amount of hours, right? So could you actually stay open all night with this tech? I don't know. I guess is it that far off? We'll see what happens. But now with humanoids and so forth being implemented, We'll see exactly what happens. But Elon says, mark my words, AI is far more dangerous than nukes. And why is that? Because it's technology, because it controls or is integrated into pretty much everything that we do, every aspect, right? Our phones, right? Our data points, our data centers, now our weapons and technology, our securities, our secure protocols, our programming, our utilities, our grids, right? So there's been several movies that talk about this, and even Meta is building a super intelligent AI. Of course, there's a robot again, but it's building a super intelligent artificial intelligence system. So Zuckerberg talks about Meta wanting to build the super intelligent AI system, and he's invested $14 billion, not million, $14 billion into these advancements, into these codings, into this evolution in technology, right? So they've cornered the market already with the social media and the platforms that they've integrated with, or they own, or they control, right? Now you have the technology and the advancements of that and the capital to introduce the future of what it means, what this super intelligence will mean for us. Some potential threats of this super AI or super intelligence, as it's called. Maybe we will lose control of AI and the understanding of what it means. Again, it's already surpassed the intelligence of Albert Einstein. We're talking about weaponization of super AI, which we're already doing. We're kind of helping it. So are we part of the problem or part of the solution with no laws in place? Some things to consider. Other ethical implications, right? Again, do we replace employees completely, or do we keep employees to make sure things operate smoothly? Or we have a hybrid of both, the best of both worlds, with actual employees and machines, or automation, essentially, is what it is. It's actually automation, but just at a different level, or at a faster, smarter thinking level. But is there a consideration or threat of the failure to align humans with AI's goals? Do we have the same goals in mind as far as the machine learning and our human condition, or humanity? Do we have the same goals? Then there's a danger of nuclear attacks and other malevolent super intelligence, things that can come, or the unknown or unforeseen considerations and things that can happen, things that can actually take place. What's unforeseen, or what do we think can happen? So they talk about super intelligence. When it reaches super intelligence, it was supposed to be 2060, but it's already here. It's already surpassed Albert Einstein. And Einstein said, I fear the day that technology will surpass our human interaction. The world will have a generation of idiots. Quote, Albert Einstein. It's been noted that the AI hit the IQ of 155. I believe that's either equivalent to Albert Einstein or it surpassed him already. And I'm not sure how old this slide is, but I just learned this a few days ago, and there was news reports about it, articles. This is from an ex-Google officer that worked at the company. He's actually posted different pictures and memes and statements saying we have 3 years left, or we're in danger, things to that effect. But he just mentioned the artificial intelligence hit 155 IQ, intelligence quotient, for those that wanted to know, right? For the brainiacs in the room. You were thinking that already, I know. And then there's the great minds to consider, right? I'm gonna put myself in there too with them. Okay, all right. So the great minds to consider, right? We're talking about Nikola Tesla, if you weren't sure who that was, Albert Einstein, and Steve Jobs, the late great Steve Jobs. Actually, all these gentlemen, late and greatness, genius at work, right? And we talk about Einstein, the consideration of him being the smartest person. When they asked Einstein Who do you think's the smartest person? What do you say? For those of you that know the answer, somebody post it in the chat. See if you get it right. I'll come back to that. So, 5 lessons we can learn from Nikola Tesla. I'm going to enlarge this here. Nikola Tesla, the man, not the company, said genius requires solitude. Money is not that important, in his words. He may have changed that because I believe he died broke and penniless when he was found in his hotel. He also said it's okay if people oppose your ideas. So I think he's thinking from a creative standpoint in his zone of creativity and things to share as lessons. He said, if you can imagine it, you can achieve it. And then he said, work honestly and future will respect you. The future will respect you if you're honest in your endeavors. So again, spread some love, share some love, learn the technology, learn to use a tool. Don't let the tool learn to use you. Right. And for those of you that are considering that answer, you want to know what Einstein said. He said, when they asked him, how does it feel to be the smartest man in the world? He said, I don't know. Go ask Nikola Tesla. If you're not familiar with Tesla, Nikola Tesla, and his story, you may want to Google this man. The reason we have cell phones, the reason why we have wireless technology, the reason why we have radio waves and radio devices or devices connected to the Bluetooth and the wireless and alternating current and wireless towers or Wi-Fi towers. Tesla created these towers back in 1929, if not before that, but they were experimented with. He was funded by JP Morgan Chase. There's a fascinating story, several movies about his life. He's created so much, zero gravity, things of that nature. So some ask, was he even from this world? But again, am I fascinated by him? Of course I am, because when he was found in his hotel, broken, penniless, some people came in. We don't know who that is, but they confiscated everything he had, all his writings, all his teachings, all his inventions, and disappeared. Again, fascinating for Einstein to make that statement. So again, the stages of AI. We talk about the stages. We're kind of like right here with machine learning, general intelligence, or somewhere close to super intelligence. We may be faster than, it may be sooner than 3 years, or we may have less than 3 years before it reaches that. But what does that mean? Maybe we need some controls in place. And then there's transcendent or transcendental AI, right? Transcendent AI, right? Essentially, it surpasses and then continues to evolve into cosmic AI and godlike AI. What does that mean? Right. So we're in for a wild ride, and hopefully we don't abuse it. Like some people are already doing with the music category. That remains to be seen. We know this thing can duplicate your voice, can duplicate your images, can duplicate your likenesses, but it definitely can enhance your productivity and work. So we're not trying to scare anyone. We're going to dial back to another part of the series where we talk about what AI means to us, and we get more in depth with some other uses and potential applications for it. So again, learn to use the technology and tool. Don't let the tool use you. This is The Fear of AI, brought to you by the Dr. Detective, a PhD true crime podcast. Please, again, like, subscribe. I appreciate the follows on the different platforms, but go to the YouTube channel, and you can also find us a collaboration with True Crime Talk with STS Nation. Again, find us on YouTube, Spotify, find us on Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, and Audible, and several other platforms, FM Podcast and FM Player. Again, there's several other hybrid podcasts you can find us, but subscribe, like, and share. And as always, spread love. Dr. Detective. Thank you.